Hello, today it's time to fulfill yet another promise and to release another review that I announced a few weeks ago, and today we will talk about the updated version of Campfire Audio staple and bestseller, and probably it's I'm not sure about statistics, but probably it's the most selling top of the line in ear monitors. It's Campfire Audio Andromeda. Campfire already released few different versions of Andromeda in the past, but usually it was different limited versions with main changes focused on the exterior. There are Pacific blue, white, chrome-plated Andromedas or stainless steel, and so on. Last year they released unusual version called Andromeda Gold, and it was 7 drivers, while regular Andromeda is 5 drivers, 2 for bass, 1 for mids and 2 for treble. So Andromeda Gold was 7 drivers, crossoverless in-ear monitors. I reviewed them in the past, really good model, but probably it's the first time when they definitely changed the sound. There were, of course, slight difference in the previous versions and in the limited versions, but 2020 is, the upgrade in sound that probably this model required, because it exists on market for many years, and slight sound retuning was a good thing. Here, Campfire Audio as usual utilize all their technologies. Despite the perfect metal work, I will show it later, but probably you know about it. Here also use their true acoustic enhancement chamber TAEC technology for better treble representation, and also here they used the solid body internals technology that they developed for their custom version of their earphones, and now they decided to re-implement that in the universal lineup. So in this signature beveled and edged body there is a special 3D structure to place the drivers as they should be located and to tune the sound. What else I can say about them? Price of course is pretty high, it's $1,100, but from another hand and from another point of view, it's still probably the most affordable top of the line in ear monitors, and thus they have one of the best price to quality ratios in the high-end segment, and probably it's the secret of their popularity. And probably that's enough talks, let's have a closer look. As you can see, package is similar to their previous models, but I still miss that small boxes they used before. I will repeat this in every single review probably, but I still miss them. Interesting polygraphy, nice design, unusual look. Also here was this seal, I just move it aside. It opens this way and reveals the internal box. So Campfire Audio are pretty consistent in terms of experience. Small manual here and new nice cool looking eco-friendly case. It's made of cork, and this cork is gathered without the devastating the trees, and it has special treatment to be waterproof. Well, I'm probably not eco-friendly enough, I prefer some good leather. Inside you will find earphones themselves and first signature pouch, and as usual, everything is pretty traditional. If you've seen some Campfire Audio earphones review in the past, you've seen them all. Cleaning tool, short information about the tips. So you will have 3 pair of foams, 3 pair of regular black silicone tips and second signature pouch, and you will have 5 pairs of final audio tips. Well, some long time ago Campfire Audio used spin fits as a stock tips, and when they changed the spin fits to final audio tips, I was a bit disappointed, but actually I used 2 final audio tips, and now it's one of my most favorite tips ever. And of course also another good thing, it's a pin with company's logo and a third signature pouch. So let's move that aside, and of course 2 pair of Velcro stripes to organize the cable. In terms of design, I don't know why I'm filming this part, because I don't know, is there someone who haven't seen Andromedas before? If you one of that people, just please write a comment, because it's really surprising. I'm sure that people who watch such reviews probably familiar with this model. I can be a bit wrong, but they have a different tint of green as a body, but I'm not sure here because I don't have regular Andromedas for quite a long time. I use Pacific Blue. I also reviewed them, and then I got the semi-hard shells for them. And despite looking the same, shell changed a little bit since the past, because first version of Andromeda gave me some issues with feet, but now they changed a little bit everything, so these edges here became a bit softer and smoother, so that means more wearing comfort. Spout also changed angle a little bit, or I don't know, actually maybe not, but it seems to me that it's changed and it fit better. This change was done not in this version, few versions before, but shells differs from the first versions of Andromeda. And of course here used Campfire Audio signature spouts. Just check out this grill. If you didn't see Campfire Audio works before, just see how precisely it's made. And you know, these earphones are just scream that our creators know how to work with metals, they know how to work with materials. And of course they look really good. Here used, of course, replaceable cables with signature beryllium plated MM6 connectors. You know, reviewing Campfire Audio earphones always means saying signature a lot, because these tiny things are filled with know-hows. And connectors are pretty tight, nicely fitting, pretty durable, so one of the best MM6 connectors. As usual, not probably flawless, but one of the best on the market. And stock cable, as usual, it's some good cable, probably it's leads, I don't remember the specs of cable. It's soft, not getting hard when it's cold, really comfortable. Actually, Campfire Audio's parent company, Allo Audio or Allo Audio, they started as a manufacturer of cables, and they also have few great amplifiers, so wires are strong part of Campfire Audio too. And here it goes braided straight to the jack, so basically maybe not super fancy looking, but really comfortable and doing its job really well, so good cable too. To summarize everything, you know, it's silly, but let's conclude. So great design, good build quality, nice wearing comfort, great accessory set, etc, etc, etc. And before I proceed to the sound, a bit of off topic. If you want to skip it, just move about a minute forward. So my main occupation is software development. I am iOS developer, and in the development it's really important to get together analytics. Almost every single modern app has special libraries to gather user activity in the application, and based on that developers can analyze what users are doing in the app and focus on the most important parts of the application. It's good developers. Bad developers sell your personal information to third-party companies to know about, so they can learn you better, offer you better advertisement, make some decisions, and so on. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that feedback is important, and I'm pretty sure that Campfire Audio spent a lot of effort gathering feedback about the Andromedas, because they definitely improved the parts that requires, maybe not drastically requires improvement, but they require attention. Of course, older versions of Andromedas were also great. You know, it's not like in smartphones world when every year company release new smartphones that is 2 times better than last year's. But still, of course, old Andromedas or original Andromedas were great, but of course they could be improved, and here they definitely improved what was important. While regular Andromedas were kind of V-shape, of course it's not that type of V-shapeness that exists in the inexpensive Chinese in-ear monitors. Well, I hope train will pass quietly, or it's not. Well, more or less so. Sorry for that. So, it's not that type of V-shapeness that is common for cheap Chinese hybrid in-ear monitors. It's much more technical representation, and what is important, much more coherent. But previous Andromedas could be probably considered as a V-shape with accent on lows, and on the treble this one is more W-shaped because they've added a slight of accent on the upper mids, make them a bit more forward, and it changes things pretty much. I gave them about 48 hours of burn-in. They didn't change the sound, and that was pretty expected because balanced armatures rarely require any burn-in. What is more important is to find the proper tips. So I really like the final audio tips, but I encourage you to experiment with different tips. If you'll decide to get the $1,000 in-ear monitors, and spend few dozens of bucks trying different tips, because they can definitely change things pretty noticeably. Let's have a player on the table. I prepared a bunch of examples, and of course best player for great in-ear monitors. So, in terms of representation, bass is accented, but of course it's not big accent, and bass here is totally universal. It can nail everything that you will give them. It's good with electronic music, it's good with real instruments, it's good with some synthesized instruments, so everything that you want. If it needs to be big and full-bodied, it will surprise you with hits. If it requires texturing and resolution, it will also sound really nicely. Of course, it's still balanced armatures, low frequencies. They are a bit faster than dynamic drivers, and I will tell about that a bit more when we'll came to comparisons. And of course depth is good, and it's still bit shifted towards a bit dry representation. So if you need more weight, you can probably consider some high-end hybrids, but this one is for those who prefer more texturing and more resolution and slightly more highlighted tiny nuances. But of course, you know, in the top of the line segment, all that difference is really small. And as the first example, I've got Metallica's Orion. Of course, it's not the test track, it's just an illustration, because record quality is like average or slightly below average, so not audiophilic record, of course. But Cliff Burton's bass line here is magnificent, and actually Cliff Burton's death probably the biggest loss of heavy metal music, or one of the biggest, because the biggest one is when Metallica got Trujillo. I just can't stand him crabbing on stage. So nice, really great bass line, and this in-ear monitors allows you to focus on the bass line and to separate it from the other instruments and focus on them and enjoy it. Really pleasant experience. So worth getting $1,000 earphones to listen the old metal. Another example, it's one of the greatest bass depth tests. It's Massive Attack and its Mezzanine album remastered, remixed, remastered a few years ago. It's all about different types of bass as a foundation, and the whole melody built on that. And of course, Angel starts with different really deep going bass effects, and these earphones play it really nicely. And yet another test. Probably it's not only about the low frequencies but also about mids. It's Ondekoza, Japanese taiko drums. So these earphones definitely know how to represent the big drums hits to give you all that sense of big thing resonating somewhere near you. And bass transitions to mids flawlessly. I already say that, but I will repeat it once again. The coherence here is really good, and all drivers play in unison, and that's the good thing. Even, you know, it's even better than some high-end models that I've heard in the past. So anyway, let's go back. Lower mids are a bit recessed, but still, you know, it's that case when the frequency response doesn't matter almost absolutely, because mids are not lacking resolution, they are not lacking technical things, they are they are well balanced between the micro contrast and macro dynamics. So when it's necessary, they can surprise you with emotions. When it's necessary, they can show you tiniest nuances and details. And of course, they are critical to the quality of records. Probably not the most nitpicking model, but of course they require something well recorded, something well mastered. You know, it's like buy a sport car and then buy some cheap fuel to save money. So for the top of the line earphones, you need some good records and good tracks, and of course a nice decent source. Upper mids are moved forward here a little bit, and that change, you know, pretty lot of things, because they better represent female vocals, and they are a bit better representing distorted guitars and stuff like that. So a bit more forwardness, and that means a bit more crispness and clearness. Imaginary stage is noticeably above average, both in width and in depth, with good layering, positioning, really big, spacious, maybe not the biggest one, but of course one of the biggest I've experienced. So good balance of weight, so everything that you can expect from technical balanced armature earphones, they will give you. And what examples I've got? Glenn Miller's Orchestra Kalamazoo in the digital mode, so digital remastered version of classics or classical jazz big band. So it's all about the different brass instruments, first of all, and thanks to the resolution and technical capabilities of these earphones, they definitely know how to separate all that trumpets, saxophones and all other instruments from one from another, and they will give you this sense of presence. And Rosa Passos, girl from Ipanema, this time it's definitely an audiophile recording, because it's written on the album's cover. Jokes aside, really good compilation by Chesky Records, so probably the label that cares most about the headphone audiophiles, producing really good releases for us. And of course, a nice version of classical, I'm actually not sure, but probably it's bossa nova or some similar direction, because it has that bit of melancholy in this track, and these earphones are greatly represent this vocal and instrumental part, so it's really good, sounding really engaging. And treble here is accented, actually middle treble accented, and extension is really good, so good layering, not perfect but really good. So to get perfect layering, probably one will need to use some electrostats or piezo tweeters, but it's one of the best balanced armature trebles I've heard. Nice, fairly well balanced, sounding really natural, with good attacks and decays, surprisingly good, because usually balanced armatures are faster than they should be, but still here it's almost not noticeable, and that gives all that layering, all that nuances of the room where it was recorded, all that small decays, all that overtones. So you know, it's treble is usually the, for me, at least for me, it's the most noticeable difference between the regular earphones and top of the line, because when you hear some like $300, $500, so somewhere in this region, there are a lot of really good models, and you listen to them, they sounding really nicely, really good, really natural, lifelike, engaging, and so on. But then you getting something from the $1,000 plus segment, and you definitely understand the difference, because you will get more rich treble, and that gives you another layer of naturalness. Of course, not everyone needs that, and actually a lot of tracks are simply don't have that, because nowadays a lot of modern music is recorded with totally maimed and distorted treble, so they're not tailored towards audiophiles. But on the well-recorded things, you can definitely hear this difference. And a pair of examples. First one is Arena, Pins and Needles. If I remember right, it's 1996. Really good neo-progressive album, and as usual, a lot of nice percussion, and these earphones will definitely show it nicely. And Blues for Lars from yet another Chesky release. It's named You're Surrounded, and the name actually hints you the main idea. It's the binaural records recorded for the binaural surround microphone, and thus it's sounding really great with earphones and headphones, and giving you unmatched sense of presence and sense of naturalism and staging. So, and here also present a lot of nice percussions, all that tiny brushes, touch and cymbals, so these earphones play that part nicely. So to summarize the sound, technical but a bit fun-tuned earphones for those who like to balance between the natural and monitoring representation and fun. So actually it's not totally monitoring and not totally fun, in between. And of course about the pairing, you can use it with mid-tier dubs, for example. They are really good, they will definitely give you good experience, but to fully unveil them you need something like at least Shanling's M6 Pro or Ibasso DX220. It depends on what you want to get. So in this segment there are a lot of good players, so you need natural and technical sound DX220, you need emotions KNN62, you need a bit weight and analog-like sound, it's Fios M15, so somewhere in this segment. And of course some more expensive, more high-end models will do the trick too. They are really sensitive and low impedance, so keep in mind that you will need the source with good black background, or you will need to use some attenuator like Hi-Fi IE match. Speaking about the conversions, probably the most important one I already made, it's with regular Andromeda, but if someone just skipped to this part, so here you will get a bit more upper mids, and actually that will give a bit less forward bass. Actually, in terms of amount of bass, and lower part of sonic spectrum is really close to the original Andromedas, but this have more upper mids, and that makes percepted bass accent a bit less. And also that makes treble a bit more even, so it means like bit more forward upper mid, so bit less accent on the bass and treble. They have the same amount, but different perception. I'm highlighting that once again to give you more understanding. And Solaris, actually I didn't try Solaris, this year version of Solaris, but I'm using the limited edition one with that rare seashell. And Solaris have tighter, more weighty low frequencies, and actually it's a bit more fun-tuned, meaning that it has bit more V-shaped signature, bit less upper mids than here, more weight on low frequencies, and pretty similar treble response, but actually for me this one sounding is a bit more natural. And Ara new this year's release, it's monitoring representation by Campfire Audio, less bass, more focus on the mids and treble, so they are more natural and more brighter for those who need even more resolution and even more detailed and technical mids. Andromeda Gold, well, Andromeda Gold, it's totally different signature, more low frequencies, more fun. So it's actually Andromeda that sounds closer to Solaris. I don't know what else I've got. Noble Audio Kaiser & Core. Kaiser & Core is also bit more fun and bit more V-shaped with bit less forward mids and a bit more, they have bit more body on the lows but a bit less resolution. And they also a bit less forward on the treble. And what else? So Noble Audio Han is better on the treble because of piezo driver, and I like it slows a bit more because they have more weight without losing the detalization, but Han costs 2 times more, so it's different league of earphones. And I hope that Campfire Audio won't go to that expensive segment, because of course $1,000 is also expensive, but you know, like nowadays it can be considered as affordable high-end in-ear monitors. So really good upgrade of sound of classical model. It was Andromeda 2020. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and have a nice day.